They're literally giving so much of themselves to this other stranger that came, that not aren't their blood, right? But they came all the way from another town, village. They're giving them half of pretty much everything. They're giving everything to these random people from a different tribe. What the British did well, they ignited this feeling that was there before Islam, this feeling of tribalism, this feeling of nationalism. They brought it back again to these people of the Muslim world. To the Arabs, they said, you are Arabs. Uh, why are you serving the Turks? And like to the Turks, why are you taking care of the Arabs? You should be separate. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So today's topic is about bonds, right? So it's about what brings, say, this society together and all other societies past. Now, if you look at all of human history, right, no one's living by themselves in a cave, right? They're all grouped together. Like whether it's your villages in Bangladesh of your ancestors or previous historical people. Like if you look at the Quran, it always uses the term people, right? There's a reason for that. It's because everyone is together, bonded together by some ties. Now, what are those ties? Those ties are normally blood, right? If you look at throughout human history, right, and even till now, right, what is the main collective that people come together? It's normally blood ties. Like, hey, in this society, it's the family unit, a nuclear family. In say Bangladesh, right, it's multiple families that form a village. In throughout human history, it's various clans and tribes. These are what makes up a village or a town or a city. Now, if you but there's a difference between say a family and a people, right? A people could be a family uh, with blood ties, or it could be a civilization. Now this civilization we've seen throughout history are things like the Roman Empire, where you are binded together not by blood but a Roman citizenship, or it could be the Persians, who were bounded together by a Persian identity. The Chinese also had a form of bonds. Now, clearly, there's something that brings them together, right? Now, what the point of my talk is that these bonds are the source of that society's strength. It determines the nature of this bond, determines how much it can absorb other different peoples, and it determines how powerful these people will become and how much they'll grow. So, like obviously, not all bonds are equal, and not all peoples are equal. We know that there's a difference in levels compared to, say, a random village in, some forgotten tribe, and say the Roman Empire, the Chinese empires, the Islamic empires. The Islamic Khalifa. There's a real difference in the power of these different groups of societies, and fundamentally, that is determined by the power of these bonds. Now, I would like to bring a Quranic reference. In the Quran, it mentions how many a small band has overcome a great army by the permission of Allah, and Allah is with the steadfast. Now, the point of this verse is that it's not numbers that determines how powerful a people is. Like a smaller group of people can easily defeat a larger group of people, right? It's by both, as mentioned by the Quran, the permission of Allah, and second of all, it's by how powerful their ties are. If you think about it, say in a battlefield, right? Like they have all this pressure that's coming to them, right? Say there's a greater number, they're more ferocious, but what really like keeps them together, right? As an army, right? It's normally a relationship they have. Yeah, it's normally a relationship they have with each other, and that's the strength of their bond. Now, I'm gonna go back a bit, right? Back before pre-Islamic Arabia, right? Because like our story is about Islam, right? About the Islamic bond. So So I want to show the history before Islam. Now, in Islam, we know about the uh, what type of people they were before Islam. They were separated into tribes and clans. Now, we know about, say, the Banu Hashim. They were a clan, and the Quraysh, who are tribes. So, um, different family member groups, your aunt and uncles, and your sons and daughters made a family. These family made up a clan, which could be the Banu Hashim, and then the various clans made up the tribe, and various tribes made up the town or the village, which is, say, the Quraysh, right? Now, if you look at the history before pre-Islamic Arabia, right, you saw so much bloodshed and chaos, right? Because there were no rules. The rules were that whoever was the strongest tribe is going to be the winner and determines what the outcome is. So say there's a she camel, right? And this is a real story, right? A she camel crossed over to a territory of another tribe, right? That man killed the she camel for crossing his territory, and because of that, these two tribes fought a 40-year cycle of bloodshed because uh, because of that one incident. Now, you look at all those chaos, right? Literally, like so many of these clan members died because of this one incident, one she camel, right? Like, why were people willing to die for that one incident, right? It's because their love for their brothers in those terms, a tribal brotherhood, overcame everything. They didn't think on the rational aspect of this. They didn't think, oh, let's figure out what this is all about. They thought, okay, this member of my tribe, someone wronged them. I'm going to back them, and then just I'm just going to back them until we win because they're my tribe members. I love them, right? Now, see the problem of this, right? So, like, because of that one incident, these people were in a cycle of blood for 40 years, right? And then you could see that throughout all of history before pre-Islamic Arabia. Before then, these like the Arabs were in a constant cycle of bloodshed because there was nothing to unite them. If you think about the bond of blood, right, the limits of that bond comes only to your tribal lineage. Like, you can extend it further. So say, oh, my family, my tribe, my town, village, right? But there's always a limit. There's always an us versus them. There's and if and if you think about it, why were the tribes of Arabia so backwards, right? Like, why were the Persians and the Romans such a greater civilization? So, like, and let's compare it to the idea of the Romans, right? The Romans were binded together by a shared history, a shared culture, um, you know, uh, a shared Roman citizenship. So, like, these people, the Romans, right? Uh, you could any tribe from anywhere across the world could become part of the Roman fold. How so? Because the Romans said you can become part of our civilization as long as you swear fealty towards the emperor and the imperium, the Roman Empire. So they had a shared identity of this Roman citizenship, right? So that's a different kind of bond compared to the bond of blood that the Roman tribes, the Arab tribes were part of. And then there was, say, the Chinese, right? They were more far off, but they had a similar type of relationship to the Romans where they could absorb all these different peoples and tribes. Now, so now we're comparing the Romans and the Persians to the pre-Islamic Arabians, right? Clearly, there's a difference, right? And we can determine that difference is first the Romans were bonded by something beyond blood ties, while the Arabs were bonded by just blood ties on its own. So why did the Arabs, rise up? Why did their civilization rise up beyond, the Romans and the Persians, right? Because there's limitations even with, say, the Roman bond and the Persian bond. With the Arabs, right? They rose up from, they didn't just match them as equals. If you think about it, if there was something that binded together, if it was on the same level as the Romans and the Persians, like wouldn't they be just another great power on their own, like comparable to Romans and Persians? But the Muslims didn't just stand on equal ground. They went beyond. They defeated the Romans and Persians and wiped them out from history. So whatever the Muslims had, right, whatever the Prophet ﷺ created, right, was much, much greater than whatever the Persians and the Romans had, right? So let me bring in some like Quranic verses that will help us understand this, right? So So when the a prophet came to Medina, right, he presented two things, right? If you look at what he did, right, really it was the message of Islam, right? But what is the message of Islam, really, right? First, it's a creed, right? A creed that a rational creed that brings together people under the same philosophy, right? And the second thing is a relationship, a love, just like the love people had between family members. He developed a love between each other that was beyond just family members. Like now, how did he create that love? He grounded it in Islam. He showed that uh, that this love you have for your Muslim brothers, right, is something beyond just blood ties, and this Islam helps develop that same love you have for your brothers. So if you look at us here in this room, right, like we're not all related by blood, but we still have this feeling for each other, like this natural feeling of like just love, essentially, of that. I love my brother for what I love for myself, right? And this love didn't emerge on its own. It came from Islam, is what developed this. Now let me say some Quranic verses to understand the root of this, right? So the strongest of faith is to love for the sake of Allah and to hate for the sake of Allah. Another verse, by the one is whom hand is my soul, you will not enter paradise until you believe, and you will not believe until you love one another. Shall I tell you of something which, if you do it, you will love one another? Spread the salam between you. And among the shades of Allah on the day where there is no shade but His, two who have loved each other for Allah's sake, they met upon it and parted upon it. And then there's plenty of verses in this, right? In Islam. Now, what I'm trying to say is that yes, the Prophet ﷺ, he presented Islam towards the Aus and Khazraj, but he did something more than that. Like Islam, if you think about it, is like a set of creeds, a set of principles on how to live life, right? But when it comes to human connection, it's more than just principles. You have to develop emotions based on these principles. And the Prophet ﷺ, through these verses, through these interactions, developed that kind of bond between them. And then let's have a look at the power this bond created, right? So when the Muhajirun came from Makkah, right, and entered Medina, right, the Aus and the Khazraj, like they let their houses open and welcomed them into their families. So like there was this member of that house who basically said, here's my household, here's half my wealth. You know, he basically just gave half his wealth away for the sake of his brother. And then another member of the house basically said, here are my three wives. I'll divorce one of them. Choose which one, and they'll become your wife. So like, and then like if you think about it, like look at what type or what this is, right? They're literally giving so much of themselves to this other stranger that came that not on their blood, right? But they came all the way from another town village, and they're giving them half of pretty much everything. They're giving everything to these random people from a different tribe, and that's because the Prophet ﷺ, he developed this feeling of brotherhood amongst the Muslims. the Muhajirun and the Ansar. Now, I, I wanted to show like this feeling is like how powerful it is, right? But don't the Christians also have this feeling? Like if you look at the Christians, right, love thy neighbor, right? They also develop this feeling amongst themselves. They also show it um, like their feelings of brotherhood, this love they have for each other. Christians have for each other. It isn't inferior to our own, I believe. Like you have people, members of the Red Cross there. They go all the way to another country for the sake of their brotherhood, right? And also this feeling on its own isn't enough to save the people of Gaza. So like we have this solidarity, we have this emotion, our hearts bleed for the sake of the children in Gaza, for the people of Gaza. But that's all it is. It's just emotions. We can't really do anything about it, right? And that's because like you need more than just emotions. You need also a system, right? And you need both the emotions and the system to work together. What the system does is that it channels all these emotions towards building a society, a structure that can nourish the people within it. It can also defend it. So it can this system can save the people of Gaza. It can remove the tyrant. It can um, bring prosperity to its people. And we saw this throughout Islamic history, right? And that's why I'm linking it back to the Aus and the Hajraj. When this both the system and the emotions came together, right? It built the Islamic society and the Islamic state at that time. And this is what a- and not only that, right? This system and this bond that binded them together wasn't limited to the Aus and the Hadraj. It absorbed all the tribes in Arabia, and they became part of the system, right? And not only that, it's not just how much they can absorb, because we know the Romans and the Persians they were able to absorb other peoples and tribes. It's also the strength and the fire that uh, also like the strength of those bonds were also what enabled them to be superior to others, right? If you think about it, like so say the Romans and the Persians, right? At the end of the day, they had this. They're working together with all these different tribes, all these different peoples. So are the Muslims, right? But why is it that the Muslims won again and again and again, right? It's because they had this not only a shared brotherhood, but this aqidah that united them, and uh, it was enough that they were willing to die for the sake of this aqidah. Now, but don't we have everything we've had in the past? This aqidah, this love, it's still there, right? In the it's in the Muslim world, right? Like it's not disappeared or anything. So what's stopping us, like, from say saving the people of Gaza? What's stopping the Muslims from, being born again and spreading truth and justice throughout the world, just like we did 1400 years ago? It's because right now in the Muslim world and within even the people in the UK, there's all these other bonds that are already there. You can't have this Islamic bond, you know, um, exist without replacing this current bond that the Muslim world has. Now, what are these Muslim bonds? What are these bonds that the current day Muslims have? It is things like nationalism, is things like self-interest. If you think about a lot of the people in the Muslim world, um, a lot of elites especially, like what's really binding them together? It's basically a common self-interest. Yeah, it's both their desire for wealth and power and maintaining their wealth and power, and then for each of them together to come together to defend their wealth and power. This is what binds the elites of the current Muslim wars together, and prevents this bond we've had throughout history from from emerging in the Muslim world. And not only that, that's mainly for the elites, this bond of self interest. For the people, it's nationalism. What the British did well is that uh, they ignited this feeling that was there before Islam, this feeling of tribalism, this feeling of nationalism. They brought it back again to these people of the Muslim world. To the Arabs, they said, you are Arabs. Uh, why are you serving the Turks? And like to the Turks, why are you taking care of the Arabs? You should be separate. They this bought, and then they did the same thing for the tribes of Arabia. So there's a reason why there's a different tribe that made up Abu Dhabi, Kuwait. They're all separated into all these different tribes and these different ethnicities and people, right? And the tribes were always there, right? But what the imperialists did is reignite this feeling, this tribalism back into it. That why should I serve this this other peoples, right? And it completely superimposed Islam, this Islamic bond we once had. Now, the way to get back is to strengthen this Islamic bond once again within the Muslim world. Like we have to, like to our brothers and sisters throughout the world, to the elites even, we have to show right that the importance of this bond once again. That without strengthening this bond again within the Muslims, right, without showing that our Islam uh, is what makes us powerful in the first place. How this Islam we had is what made our civilization great in the first place. It's that bond that let us defeat Persia and Rome. It's that bond that gave us the prosperity for 1400 years. Without sacrificing their current self-interest and sacrificing their this current bond of nationalism, this bond of self-interest that they currently have. Without sacrificing that, right, we the Muslims won't prosper again. Yeah. So yeah, and that's the talk, inshallah.